I don't know if I don't know if people do resolutions anymore. I hear all the time, "Well, I don't do resolutions." I'm like, okay. I mean, I get that. I guess that's the thing we say, and I'm not even sure. I guess I should look and see what a resolution means. I know what that means. I'm resolved to do something, right? I'm resolved to see this happen. And so when we speak of resolutions, I realize I'm all in. I like resolutions. I like making definitive statements about what I believe and what I'm learning and what I want God to do. And I think it's important that I take stock of my life and see where I am it measures up to God, and where I don't, it doesn't measure up to Him, and say, what will I do different? And I don't even mind the vain things, right? I mean, I want to be a little healthier. I'd like to be a tad bit lighter on the scale this year, right? And so I don't mind those things because I believe it's about taking care of this thing that God's given to me. If this body actually really is the temple of the living God, then I should probably be a little better steward of it, right? I mean, it makes sense to me. And so I think these things are easy. I know we have a lot of, I mean, everybody has all kind of resolutions they do, right? I'm going to eat less this year, or I'm going to drink less. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to work out, right? All of those things. Or I'm going to save more. I'm going to get a side job. I'm going to be self-employed by the end of the year. We have all of these happy resolutions that people do. I'm going to pray more. I'm going to read my Bible more. And we move into those spiritual deals. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to watch less news, right? How many of it's like, I'm done with that mess, right? I mean, it's just those kind of things, and those are good. Tammy and I have stumbled several years ago on a kind of a platform that helps you set goals in 7 areas. And when I first heard about that thing, I realized I was already doing that, but I appreciated the 7 frameworks to do that. And so, we spent some time recently just looking at those things. What goals do I have for my faith? What needs to happen in that area of my life so that I'll be a better man when 2024 comes, right? What do I want to do with my family in the next year? Me personally, what goals do I want to set for me in my family, right? And that's essential that we do those things. And then what about my friends, right? I mean, so what do I need to do there? How can I be a better friend? Are there other friends that I should pursue? Are there some that I might want to just let somebody else have for a season, right? I mean, all of those things, right? And then field, that area where I work, where I plow my life, right? In ministry or at the stone company. What can I do to better those environments, right? And then fitness, right? That's my mental health and my emotional health and my physical health. What do I need to do to be right in those areas? And what do I want to see happen in my life? And then I look at my finances and I think, okay, I'm getting older, and there's not a lot of stuff. Somebody said something yesterday about I have enough money I can live the rest of the year, right? On the last day of the year, right? Makes sense, and that's about kind of where we are. I might could get 6 months down the road, and then I'm not sure what's going to happen after that. So what can I do to kind of ensure that, and what needs to happen? Is there some investment the Lord would have me make? Is there second streams of income that I should look at, right? These are the things that we do. And then we look at fun. What are we doing for fun? And we started with that this year when she and I met at the little Nichols Nook in Springville. It was the first one we talked about. Hey, what do you want to do for fun? Because I like fun. So for her fun is going to Jackson Hole. Mine is going to Costa Rica. We'll figure out what happens, right? It's just kind of like, hey, but we're going to, life's short, right? So you should set these goals, and we should do these things. And so, what about you? What have you thought about? I guess this is important that we do. I figured up this year. I preached 32 messages on New Year's in my life. 31 years I've been doing ministry as a pastor. I did 10 as a student pastor. But and then one year we had service on Friday night and Sunday morning. We were doing Friday church and Sunday, and there were 2 separate churches, and so I preached 2 at one time. So 32 messages I preached on that, and I try not to duplicate the same thing. This year, I've zeroed in on one verse with 3 verbs. I don't know if you figured that one out yet, but you probably know it. It's Micah 6:8. He has shown thee, O man, what is good. What does the Lord require of thee? But to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. Those are the three verbs that if I can get in my life, this is for me. I'm just letting you in on my journal. But that verse is the verse that I've zeroed in for this year and said I want those three verbs to be true of my life. And so what I want to do with you and me is just kind of walk through that. So I just read it to you, or quoted it to you rather. And so this should be fairly quickly today because it's just straightforward. He has shown you, and the New International Version says, "Oh mortal." I like that condescending tone the prophet gave there, right? I'm not God. Can we just move that off the table? If I think I'm God in my life, maybe I should realize that I'm not. I'm mortal. So he says, He's shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with God. So the first thing that I've written down is this: I will strive toward letting my actions be just in every situation. Right? I mean, that's that verb for me is I want to do the right thing in every situation. You can think about all the situations we have in a day. Somebody comes in the office and the way you look at them, right? Listen, my office is a revolving door. I've got guys coming in all the time. So I got guys coming in going, "Hey, man, can I have some more gloves? Somebody stole mine, or these are worn out. Can I replace those? Hey, do you got a tape? Mine's all wet and it's ruined." To, "Hey, do we get vacation days and do I have any left?" And, I get all of those things. Plus, I get guys that will come in and they'll close that door and I know there's something serious they want to talk about. And sometimes it's money, Sometimes it's just like, "Hey, man, I'm really struggling here and I got this. Could I borrow, some money from the company and get it taken out of my paycheck?" I got other guys that are saying, "Could you pray for my wife?" I got a buddy now that's at work. He's like, "Hey, can you pray for my mom? She's got cancer and it's not looking good." Right? So I've got these people that come in and they have these issues. One of my guys didn't show up this week, and he's in the county jail. So. I'm trying to figure out how to get some bail for him, and so we've been working over, that, and we'll see what happens. So I guess I'm saying I feel like I'm this steward at this company of a position that they see me in some sense as having like the authority or something. But I want to treat those people like I want to be treated, right? And you find yourself in that same situation. Your kids are the same way, right? You got kids, you got grandkids. Just walk around and see how people treat their kids these days. It's not any better than it was when we were. It's probably not any worse. But I'm thinking, man, was that really necessary to embarrass your child right there in front of everybody so God and everybody could see? Was that the right way to handle, or could you have done that better? And so these are the questions that we ought to ask ourselves. Hey, is there a better way that I could respond to Tammy when she says this thing? Or should I have redone this, or should I have done it a different way? We find ourselves, we've been married a long time. We still find ourselves sometimes at odds about the way I say something. Rarely her, but me. And so I have to go, "No, time out. You saw that wrong." Right? And so, but I'm thinking, okay, but why would she have thought that to begin with? So apparently, I could do a better job of that, right? And so these are the things that I think all of us need to look at. I'm going to say that statement one more time. I will strive toward letting my actions be just in every situation. So I don't get a break 24/7. If I'm awake and I'm talking or my ears are listening, and I need to think about what's the best thing I can do in that situation. Maybe what the just thing is to walk away. Maybe it's to say something. But whatever it is, I need to do it. I've got several verses just that kind of tag on to that. Proverbs 21:3. To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. David said it like this: I will not give to my Lord that which costs me nothing. Jesus said the same thing. If you come to worship and you're at the altar and you remember you have something against your brother, don't put that sacrifice here yet. Go fix that problem. Go do what's right, then come back. And so this is reminding me that God Most High wants me to be more concerned with doing the right thing in every situation than to keep thinking I'm going to just bring him a sacrifice of praise, or I'm going to read my Bible more, or I'm going to pray more. Not that those things aren't important, but the issue of importance is that I do what's right. Isaiah said it like this: learn to do right. And then he tells me what that looks like. Encourage the oppressed, defend the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow. Sounds like James must have been spending a lot of time in Isaiah, because James says this is what pure and undefiled religion looks like, that you care for widows and orphans in their distress, and you keep yourself unstained from the world. And so I read that and I go, wow, that's good. And then Titus, Paul, when he's writing to a young pastor Titus, he says this in chapter 2, verse 12, say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and live self-controlled. I can't just be an untamed individual here. I got to rein this stuff in, because if I don't, I won't do what's right. I'll do what I think is best for me. And so it's important that we do that. So I call that do right. That's a shorter version of the verb, just do right, right? But my bigger line is I will strive toward letting my actions be just in every situation. And so the dumbed down version of that is just do the right thing, right? It's the golden rule. Do to others as you would have them do unto you. If the tables were turned, how would you want to be treated? Then do that. That's all we have to do. If I don't want to be yelled at, then quit yelling at me. That I should quit yelling at you then, right? That's how it works. If I think I need help financially, I want somebody to help me with that. Well, then I should, if people are requiring and asking of me, maybe I should do that for them. If the tables were turned, how would I want to be treated? This guides my action and my attitudes and my speech. All of it wrapped up in one. Psalm 37. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the second one. So that's the first one, right? Just do the right thing. The second one is this: I will cultivate an attitude of mercy. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cultivate an attitude of mercy. Now, mercy in the scriptures always flows into some form of love. Mercy, the reservoir of which mercy goes to will always fill up with love. That's what it does, right? So the whole, if I dumb it down, then it's just love more. Do right and love more, right? Just be merciful to people. I love what the mercy, as I understand it in the Greek, this is Hebrew we're reading from, but in the Greek it translates to see. It means that I see you with an eye to meet that need. That's what mercy is. That's what Jesus did when we looked at the thief on the cross. That was mercy that spoke on that cross, that said, I see your heart. And today, when you get to heaven, you tell him, I told him that you're with me. Right? That's the whole deal. That's mercy. That's what he saw. That's what he saw with the woman caught in adultery. She's standing there, moved with compassion. This is what it is. God knows 2023 in this ugly country that we live in needs a whole lot more mercy than it does that wicked judgment, slander, pile on and everybody hate everybody kind of society that we have drifted into. Psalm 37:26 says to always be generous and lend freely. Mercy sometimes is in the form of dollars, isn't it? Right? It's just that way. I had a guy message me this morning. Hey, Pastor, here's where I am. If you'll give me this, I'll give it back to you Wednesday. So we'll see. I know what I'm doing. We'll see what happens, right? Because I have that. I have $20. Somebody asked me for $20. And I'm not saying that we always do that. I'm just saying I will cultivate an attitude of mercy, and I will borrow from the verse that we used to number 1, and I will want to do, if the tables were turned, how would I want to be treated? And so if I were in need of $20, I'd like to have somebody I could call on that I knew wasn't going to judge me. They would love me. They might teach me, and they might counsel me, but they're going to help me, right? I want to be that. And so Luke 6:36 says, be merciful just as your Father in heaven is merciful. There's nothing else to say when you see that. And if you don't see that God's been merciful to you, then you need Jesus. You just do. There's no such thing as a merciless follower of Christ. There is no such thing as that. People who are merciless don't have Christ. They don't know him, and they need him. There is an oxymoron. It is an impossibility that you could be a Christ follower and have no mercy. You just can't. In fact, Jesus made that plain. If you can't forgive your brother from the heart, then you've demonstrated that you haven't received mine and you don't have it, right? That's how he phrases it. And so we need to see it that way. These are good. Colossians 3 is a great verse. I'm going to read just a couple of little short passages. This is Colossians 3. Therefore, as God's chosen people, man, I love how Paul writes. He's just reminding me, it's almost like he's propping me up so that I will do that. He's baiting me, right? Just remember now, before I go any further, remember God chose you, right? That's how I hear it. As God's chosen people. Oh, and guess what? You're holy, and you were dearly loved by Him. All right. He says, now, in light of, I just say, this is who you are. That I want you to do this. I want you to clothe yourself with compassion. I want that to be the first thing people see. I don't want them to see anything beyond that. Whatever you're wearing underneath that, I want that first thing they see is that you are clothed with compassion. That when you walk into a room, they notice that more than they do anything else, because that's what entered. They saw compassion. And I want you to clothe yourself not just with that, but with kindness and with humility and with gentleness and with patience. I want you to bear with one another. I want you to forgive one another. Whatever grievance they have, I want you to forgive. And over all of that stuff, I want you to put on love, because it binds everything together in perfect unity. That's what Micah says there. Well, I will cultivate an attitude of mercy. That's what he's talking about. Paul told the Romans this: we who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. And if God's made you strong and you're strong this year, then you ought to look around for those who are weak. It's our responsibility. It is. Jesus said it like this: the poor you always have with you. Not like, well, so just don't worry about it. He's like, no, you have a large task. The poor is always with you. That's how I read it, not the other. Yeah, everybody's going to be poor, so, I can't fix that. It's like an ocean. No, go pull one out every time you see one. Pull somebody out of that ocean of stuff, right? Right? I can't save them all, but I can save that one. You've heard that story before. That's what he's saying. This is what Paul's saying here. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good, to build them up. And so I'm going to love more. 1 Peter 4:8 tells me it should be stretched tight. Stretched so that it's always loose, right? Be fervent in love. Be hot in love. Let that love be stretched, because it covers a multitude of sins. I wrote this a few years ago in my journal, and I just looked at it this week. It says, this kindness flows from a heart that has been crushed with grace by the one true God. And until you've let God crush you with His grace, not crush you with His anger, not crush you with His righteousness, but let God crush you with your grace, then you realize if you've been freely given that much, you have no choice but to freely give that to others. And then the third one, I will direct my attention to walking humbly submitted to God Most High. That is, that I will worry less. That's how I phrase it. I'm not saying you should. He says walk humbly with God. And when we walk humbly with God, what I've found is in those few rare moments of which I do that, I realize I ain't worried about nothing, right? Because my eyes aren't on me. And I know He's going to take care of me. And humility means that I regard you as more important than myself. And so in this phrase, in this passage, he says, I want you to walk as though I am most high. I am most important. And therefore you will just be my servant. If that just means that you serve me sometimes, you don't have to go serve anybody else. You can just worship me, right? This is what He's calling me. This is what a godly man does. I don't have to go serve Him by serving you. I can just serve Him by serving Him, right? And so this is what that is. And we know that's true because James 4 says this: God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble, right? And so there's a great benefit in walking humbly with God. He's not opposed to you. And I don't know if you've ever stood on the other side of God where He has opposed you. I have done that more times than I should have. I don't like that much. And so it's good to be on that side. And humility is that role. It's what Paul told the Colossians. We read that first section. That one verse after that says this, and let the word of God richly dwell within you. Let it be at home in your life. To walk humbly with God means to honor what he wants. You want to be a humble son to your father, then you would fulfill the desires that your father has for you, right? And this is exactly how that verse applies here. And so I'm going to walk humbly with him. I'm going to worry less this year. I mean, and that happens because of the three things we talk about, right? God is good, God is loving, God is sovereign. I got a lot to think about. I ain't got nothing to worry about. I have no fear because I walk before a holy God. He knows the last breath I'm going to take. And if it's in 2023, he already knows it. So I ain't going to waste much time thinking about it. I'm going to live every day. I'm going to breathe every breath I can breathe. I'm going to live every breath I got. And when that time's up, I'm all right. I hope you're all right. I mean, I hope you miss me a little bit, but the same. I mean, but not like, woo, let's celebrate, right? But anyway, but that's the message, and it's a short little verse that we can know and we can memorize. But for me, that's my one verse with three verbs. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to be merciful to others, and I'm going to recognize that God is God and I'm not, and I'm going to honor him in the way I live my life. And if we can do that as a people together, woo, it's going to be a good year. I love you guys. I've got, you know what song we're going to do. We're going to end on that. How can you not end on the blessing but to bring in a new year? So whether you like it or not, I'm going to enjoy this song as we lead out of this little series today.